Naveen Tewari, founder of InMobi. The stage, please. So every time I pick up a newspaper, Naveen, I read that somebody else is just about to close a deal buying you, I think. Who is it this week?
I'll check the newspapers and tell you. I also find out from the newspapers, by the way, most of the time. The Indian media is really good.
So you, as well as doing an IIT course, then went Harvard, did an MBA. There's a nice pattern, people getting the Indian education, bit of the American education, coming back here to set up.
Are you holding that against me, or?
So it can't have been completely easy building a company with the scale that InMobi has. I think you said now you've got about 1,100 people, 24 offices in 17 countries. Go back a few years. At the beginning, tell us some of the things that you didn't see coming.
Most of it, actually. No, I think we have a global business today, which obviously is, people think that we were strategically very smart in building a global business. That clearly wasn't the case. It was sheer out of desperation that we went global. Because India didn't have a large ad market, and so if you tried to build an ad business in India, you would have built a very, very small company. And therefore we said, okay, what do? We have $6 million in the bank. We conned few people in giving us the money. Now they think we'll build a large company. What do? So we went outside. And frankly, that I would actually argue it is significantly easier than what people believe building a global company is. It's easier in ways because it forces you to be very, very efficient in how you execute and how you build your execution. It forces you to build and focus a lot more on your product and technology as against, that you can hustle and get business. So a few of those things, really worked for us. And therefore we have a fairly global business today.
How have your priorities changed since the very beginning to now?
Some of the biggest mistakes that I think anyone who gets into the business looks at. So today, the way I look at my priorities is, people first, product second, profits third. But this took 4 to 5 years to figure out. It was profit first, product second, people last. That's how you begin. And only when you face dramatic situations and situations where you stop growing, situations where people start leaving you, situations where you are on the verge of figuring out that the business cannot grow, is when you really figure out your true priorities. And we went through our own set of things. We thought capital would be the biggest reason for us to win the business, and as soon as we got capital, we got a little arrogant, and we grew ourselves from some 200 people to 900 people or so in a matter of a year. And we said, look, as soon as you add people, you'll have a great business going for you because you have added people and they'll do more work. And exactly the opposite happened, and nobody worked because nobody knew what to do. Because we never built the systems for being a 900 people company. We had built the system for being 200 people company. We didn't even believe and understood what it meant to deal with 900 people, because as entrepreneurs, we were very controlling. And not that it's easy to give up the control, but you have to learn how to give up control. So we learned a lot of those things, but it took us a hard year to even figure out that there was a problem. We just felt, just keep on hiring. We were losing people, as if, there was somebody had opened a tap and we were losing people like crazy. Only later on we realized the reason we were losing people was because they didn't know why they existed in the company, and we didn't grow. So therefore, when you go through those phases, and I hope not many of you have to go through it, is when you learn the importance of how to build the right culture in the organization, how to really focus on building the best possible product, profits will come.
We had an interesting conversation over lunch with Ratan Tata, and you asked him something which I thought was really interesting, both from your interest in asking. You said, well, I'm sure a lot of other entrepreneurs feel this. How do we ensure that we don't suddenly disappear? Tell us the advice he gave you.
I'll put some context to this. I think every entrepreneur out here every day believes that next day the company won't exist. They go through this feeling of things are going to fail. A large part of this is probably, in my own sense, is our own insecurities in life, because we didn't, you don't come through, you're not trained enough. You don't think that you are the right person to lead the company. Every decision that you make, you think that it's the wrong decision, and therefore you kind of go through this. I think what his view to this was interesting, because his view is, as long as you're not complacent about your position in the ecosystem, as long as you are, you're always evolving yourself and figuring out what it is, you will have that feeling because you're evolving yourself. And so it is partly okay to have that feeling because you are actually going through that evolution. And if you're going through that evolution, you have that feeling because few of those things that you will try to go through while you're going through the evolution will not work. And that is when a lot of people will come back and say, what you're doing is not right. But the fact that you're going through those motions of doing it probably will get you to a situation where you will get it right. And I think that, you also talked about disruption not being, something that you can plan. It only happens. So a lot of those things were rather interesting. I would just add one more thing. I think, it was my dream to actually, talk to Mr. Tata. So, Vani, I just wanted to thank you for this. It was an outstanding experience just to, sit opposite to him for like 15, 20 minutes, but it was amazing.
He wants to come to your company and meet you again, he said.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you for that.
Next acquisition rumor begins.
Oh, you got this one right.
I've got one.
I thought it was always about the Wired.
This is being live streamed, so we don't have it exclusively. I just got one last question before I release you to relax. As well as building up the big company that is going to be acquired by Ola Cabs or Mintra or somebody, you're also investing. Some of your investments, I see, personal investments, Nestaway, Metal, Bombay Canteen. What do you look for in the entrepreneurs you meet when you say, yes, this is somebody I want to work with?
Two things. One is, and I mean this with all sincerity, is I want to learn from some of these guys. And if you meet some of these guys, we all, as entrepreneurs who are trying to build these companies, we live in our own cocoon, like in our own world, and day in and day out, and you don't see what's happening and changing outside of this. So one is to say, look, can I actually learn something from a lot of these guys? The second is, are they solving a problem that can change the country and that can change the status quo of something that they're doing? And it's the investments are not about trying to make money. Otherwise I would be an LP, at least try to be an LP. Well, it's not about making money, that's what I said. It's about investing in some certain areas and companies where they're trying to change the world, and there could be crazy ideas, and if they are, then let's try to see if that can happen.
Naveen Tewari, thank you.
Thank you.